Well, guys, today was a no trade day. No trades. So I actually did something in the first part of my trading session because it was so slow in the morning, which is that I read my entire trading plan out. And actually, I got some feedback from some of the members in the chat, and that was pretty awesome. So I'm going to go over that and because there was a lot of learning happening because of that. But why no trades? Well, honestly, I think part of the reason that I didn't have trades is because I read through my trading plan. I read through my trading plan and it clarified what I was supposed to be doing for my stock selection and my indicators. And honestly, that kind of made it very clear that nothing really met my criteria and I didn't see any opportunities. So I'm going to be going through my trading plan every single morning, not live on the live stream, but every single morning I'm going to go through it in the morning before I start trading. And also, I do now have a whiteboard. One of my members was like, get a whiteboard. Actually, several of you have mentioned the whiteboard. Okay. And because I had read through the trading plan, I put some things on the whiteboard that I really, really wanted to keep in the top of my mind. Now, if you follow me on Substack, you know that my goal this week is working on my stops. So I put, after the market opens, place a stop loss because I've had several big losses lately because during the pre-market, you just have to use a mental stop. But during regular market hours, I should have been putting a stop right after entering a trade. And I didn't, and I paid the price dearly on several trades for that. So this is my reminder to do that. And then on top of that, from reading my trading plan, I put my timeout list. So yesterday, I violated my timeout rule. My timeout rule is that after one trade, I have to take a 15-minute break. I didn't do that yesterday. And if I had done that, I wouldn't have taken the worst trade of the day and I would have been green. After 2 red trades, I'm going to take a 30-minute break. And after 3 red trades, I'm out. Oh, my little smiley face. I must have accidentally, but I've got a little frowny face, okay, because I don't want to be out of training. Okay, trading. So that was one thing that I kind of started today is my whiteboard. And I've kind of got it propped up against the wall here under a piece of art that my daughter did, which is awesome. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my trading plan, and I'm not going to go over every single thing in detail, but once I kind of have it where I want it to be, maybe in the next week or so, I'm going to post it on Substack. Okay. And then I'll put a link in my description of my videos. And this is a living document. So every time it changes, I'll update it over there. I think that's what I'm going to do as far as making it public. Okay. So I'll just go over some of the details of the trading plan. Some of you know that because I had some massive losses last week. Starting on Friday, I reduced my share size from 500 to 100 shares. I reduced my account size down to 10K because I was going to do that anyway. I don't need that much in my account once the PDT rule goes into effect. And I reduced my max share price to $10. So if I took one trade at $10 a share and I did 1,000 shares, that's $10,000. So I don't need more than that, but I'm only trading 100 shares right now. So 10K is more than enough. Okay, more than enough. But now I'm in a rebuilding phase. Okay, so I'm rebuilding my account, I'm rebuilding consistency. And so I'll just go over some of the things in my trading plan. So the first thing is stock selection. And again, if you follow me already, you're going to, some of this is going to sound familiar because I go over my thought process out loud while we're on the live stream. But I have 6 stock selection criteria. And previously I was adamant that I had to have all 6 in place or I would not take a trade. And what's come up lately is that that was a very rigid way of thinking because not all stock selection criteria are equally important and they shouldn't be weighted equally. So in my trading plan, I've made that more clear which stock selection criteria are non-negotiables, which ones are nice to haves, and which ones are icing on the cake. Okay, so like I've definitely missed out on opportunities because of having criteria that were too rigid. So I'm definitely, I'm a new trader, okay? And I'm not consistently profitable yet. I'm just sharing my journey. I'm not teaching, I'm sharing my journey. However, I'm developing, I'm evolving just like we all are, just like you are. And as I evolve and as I develop, I am, modifying my criteria. Okay, so this is going to be a living document. But the things that are non-negotiable for stock selection, of course, the price range. That's where I really got burned on one trade last week. I was at 500 shares. The stock was up about $20. And it was after the market opened. I didn't have a stop loss order. When it started to drop, I hit sell on the bid. It didn't catch my order. I canceled. I hit sell on the bid again, and it was already like way down. I was down like $700-800. That's just like way too much for me to handle. So price under $10, relative volume greater than the 50-day average, and I want to see total volume greater than 500,000. Okay, those are non-negotiables. Something that is really, nice to have would be float under 20 million shares. I will trade higher floats, but I want to see the price action supporting that, okay, and the volume supporting that. And then icing on the cake would be a news catalyst that gives me confidence. This is like the stock you want to trade, and a gap greater than 10% from the previous day's close. Okay. Of course, I want a gap over. I want it to gap positively. Okay, but the news catalyst is really the kind of like nice to have one. It's not essential. I was making that essential before and I missed out on some really great trades that had good price action. Same thing with stocks that are under $1. I've missed out on some opportunities because I was being a little too rigid. So that's one thing. I have my setups that I'm interested in doing, confirmation indicators, what I want to see before I enter an order. I have entry execution signals, okay, and then exit indicators. Okay, so exit indicators, really important. That's something I worked on last week. I've actually done a much better job at it. However, I have a list of maybe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 exit indicators. And the only one I seem to be able to see is price hesitation. Maybe that's the only one I'll be using, but that is the one that I'm able to see. All right. And then how much risk I'm going to take per trade. My max risk per trade, my max risk per day, like at what point do I cut it? Okay, so my max risk per trade is 1%. My max daily loss is 3%. And I don't even want to think of an overall drawdown. All right. And also my timeout rules. My timeout rules, that I think will really help me manage. I'm not like a super emotional trader, but I think that will help me. That really would have saved me yesterday. All right. Scaling up, this is the other thing that I'm outlining in my plan. at what point do I scale up in terms of shares? Right now I'm at 100 shares. So when can I go to 150? I have 5 criteria. I want to see 0 discretionary stop violations across 20 trades. So I've realized this is my goal for this week. I had said that my goal was 0 stop violations, but what I realized is that there are really 2 kinds of stop violations. There's one kind where it's like, I screwed up. I didn't get out when I said I was supposed to get out. Like, I'm hoping and praying the stock comes back up and it goes past my stop. That is a discretionary stop violation. That's my fault. The second kind is an execution one, which is what happened yesterday, where I clicked sell in the bid and it didn't catch my stop. And then I had to cancel that and click sell again. However, I should have had a stop loss order in place. So, and the second one is I want to have an accuracy ratio of more than 50%. I want my P&L-R number to be greater or equal to 0.8. So if you're not familiar with that is, you take how much you've won or lost divided by the initial risk. So for example, is this an opportunity for me to use my whiteboard? I don't have a fancy camera angle like Russ Cameron does, but let me, we actually had some discussion on the chat today about something else. So that's what else is on this whiteboard. But I would say my initial risk is 10 cents a share and I'm trading 100 shares. So that would be $10, right? So you would say $10 would be the denominator. Whoops. How do I? Yep, there we go. $10 would be the denominator. We're looking over on this side, okay? And let's just say that I made $5. Okay? If I made $5, then my P&L-R is 0.5, right? However, let's just say that again, I was risking $10, but I made 12. My P&L is going to be 1.2, okay? So the bottom number is the initial risk. So for example, on a bull flag pullback, that would be the difference between my entry and my stop, right? So this is where I think it's going to be difficult for me to scale up because I get nervous and I don't hold my winners long enough. So I think it's going to be difficult for me to scale up because of that. No daily loss limits. Of course, my daily loss limit is so high based on my account size that I don't think I'll hit that. It's 3% of my account, which is $300, but you never know. Things can go wrong. And then no timeout violations, which would be what I showed you again on this side of my whiteboard, the timeouts, right? Which I did yesterday. So I'm starting over again. I had Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. I had, let's see, 8 plus 5, 13 trades. And now I have to restart over because I didn't put a stop loss on my last trade yesterday. And I also didn't take a timeout between the last 2 trades. So once I meet those criteria, I can move up. So that's another thing on my plan. And you know, I have a pre-trade checklist, an in-trade checklist, and an exit checklist. So there's a lot of other stuff I'm going to work on my trading plan, but that was really helpful today, and I think that was directly related to me not taking any trades. I didn't take a trade that was outside of my parameters, my guidelines, because I had just read through them on the chat and people were making comments and giving their input and talking about what they did, and that really reinforced what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm going to continue dialing in this trading plan, and then at some point I'm going to post it somewhere where people can see it, but it will be a living document, of course. As I evolve, it will evolve as well. So I'm really curious if you have a trading plan. How often do you update it? Do you review it every morning before you trade? What do you have in place if you violate some of your rules? Do you have any kind of do you have to drop down a tier? So for example, if I hit my daily max loss, my daily loss limits twice in a week, I have to drop a tier. If I have 3 consecutive red days, I have to drop a tier. Okay, so this is going to be motivation for me to only take high quality stocks, quality over quantity. Anyway, I'm curious. I'd love some feedback from you guys about what you do. And I will be getting my Substack midweek check-in done a little bit later. And then I will be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. trading, and I will see you then. So trade smart, you guys.